Here's something nobody wants to admit out loud. Most people don't actually want to be wealthy. They want to feel wealthy, and that one-word difference in be versus feel is the entire reason the gap between the upper class and everyone else keeps widening every single year. Because here's what actually separates those two groups. It's not the income, it's not the inheritance, it's not even the investments. It's a set of deeply ingrained behavioral patterns, quiet habits, that most people never see, never talk about, and never copy. Digging through wealth psychology studies, multi-generational family interviews, and behavioral finance research. And what many found isn't what financial influencers are selling you. No morning routines, no hustle porn, no top 5 passive income ideas. Found is simpler, stranger, and far more powerful. Let's get into it. If success is your goal and you're ready to level up, make sure you subscribe. Every video is crafted to move you closer to the life you deserve. Habit 1. They own the clock before they own anything else. Ask most people what they want most from money and they'll say freedom. But then ask them how they spend their days and you'll hear about 60-hour work weeks, back-to-back meetings, and zero time for anything they actually enjoy. The upper class figured this out early. Time sovereignty, the actual non-negotiable ability to control your schedule, is the first thing they build, not the last reward they chase. This is why wealthy families historically favor equity positions over employment contracts. An equity stake generates return whether you're in the building or on a beach. A paycheck requires your presence. One is a leash, the other is a lever. Here's a number worth sitting with. According to research from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the top 10% of American households hold roughly 87% of all stock market wealth. That's not a coincidence. That's a strategy playing out over decades. Habit 2. Decades are their unit of measurement. The average person thinks in 30-day windows. The upper class thinks in 30-year arcs. And that time horizon difference changes literally every financial decision downstream. When your horizon is 30 years, you don't panic when markets drop 18% in a quarter. You buy more. When your horizon is 30 days, that same drop feels catastrophic, so you sell at the bottom and lock in the loss permanently. Warren Buffett's most quoted line exists for a reason. The stock market is a mechanism that transfers wealth from the impatient to the patient. It was true in 1990. It's true right now. Upper-class families treat compounding like a law of physics, not a lucky outcome. They don't need excitement. Boring, consistent, systematic growth is the plan, and boring wins almost every time. Habit 3. Invisibility is a strategy. There's a phenomenon researchers call stealth wealth, and it's not just a content creator term. It describes a deliberate pattern among genuinely wealthy households to understate, obscure, and structurally protect what they own. Why? Because visibility is liability. A flashy public profile invites opportunistic lawsuits, social pressure, unwanted business propositions, and security risks. Upper-class families understood this intuitively long before the internet made exposure permanent. You'll notice the wealthiest zip codes in the country aren't the noisiest ones. No loud cars in the driveway. No designer logos from a distance. Just quiet, understated environments that whisper rather than shout. This isn't modesty. It's tactical invisibility. Habit 4. Everything gets a structure before it needs one. Here's a decision that costs millions of middle-class earners everything they've built. Owning assets in their personal name. Upper-class families don't do this. Every meaningful asset, real estate, business interest, investment portfolio sits inside a legal container. Trusts, LLCs, holding entities. Not because they're paranoid, because they're precise. If one entity gets sued, the others remain intact. If one investment fails, the rest don't catch the fire. This is called structural insulation, and it's one of the most powerful wealth preservation tools that almost nobody without a family attorney ever thinks about. The shift in thinking goes like this. Stop asking, how do I make more? Start asking, how do I protect what I already have? Habit 5. They choose rooms, not friends. This one is less about networking and more about what proximity actually does to your perception of what's possible. Upper-class families don't attend industry events to collect LinkedIn connections. They position themselves, deliberately, sometimes at significant cost, inside rooms where the people around them make high-stakes decisions casually, where seven-figure deals get discussed like grocery lists. Because when your environment normalizes ambition at that scale, your internal ceiling rises to match it. You start thinking in numbers you used to find intimidating. You start recognizing opportunities that used to look invisible. Environment is the curriculum. Choose it intentionally. Habit 6. Emotion gets removed from the equation. One of the most underrated wealth destroyers isn't bad investments. It's emotional timing. Research from Dalbar, a financial services analytics firm, shows that the average equity investor consistently underperforms the index funds they invest in, not because of bad picks, but because of behavioral mistakes. Buying high when excitement peaks, selling low when fear spikes. Upper-class financial behavior is largely systematized specifically to remove emotion from the loop. Automated investing, pre-committed allocation rules, quarterly reviews, not daily portfolio checking sessions, pre-planned exit criteria for investments before the investment is made. The goal isn't to feel nothing. The goal is to protect decision quality from emotional weather. Habit 7, they hunt asymmetric bets. This one reframes how you think about risk entirely. Upper-class families, and particularly those with generational staying power, aren't actually bigger risk takers than everyone else. They're smarter risk selectors. Specifically, they look for situations with limited downside and outsized upside. The classic asymmetric setup: invest $10,000 to learn a skill that could generate $300,000 over the next decade. The worst case is you're out $10K and some time. The best case reshapes your income trajectory permanently. The classic negative asymmetry: take out an $80,000 loan to buy a depreciating luxury vehicle that costs $1,200 a month to maintain. Worst case, and the almost certain case, is a catastrophic return on that money. Upper-class thinking asks one question before every major financial move. If this goes wrong, what exactly do I lose? If the answer is manageable, the risk might be worth taking. Habit 8, income gets layered like armor. One income stream is not a financial plan. It's a single point of failure. Upper-class wealth is deliberately built across multiple, unconnected income sources. Business distributions, dividend income, real estate cash flow, private investment returns, consulting or advisory income. Each layer functions independently, so when one slows, the others absorb the pressure. Think about what happened to single-income households during major economic disruptions. One job loss meant financial crisis. Meanwhile, households with layered income structures experience disruption as an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. The sequence matters too. Upper-class families build the layers before upgrading lifestyle. Most people do it backwards: upgrade the lifestyle first, then scramble for stability. Reverse the order. Insulate before you expand. Habit 9. Wealth is made ordinary, on purpose. When children grow up hearing investment conversations as background noise, capital allocation as dinner table discussion, tax strategy as routine household planning, wealth loses its mystical quality. And what feels ordinary doesn't feel intimidating. Middle-class households often treat money as a taboo subject: stressful, private, uncomfortable. Upper-class households treat it like health or education, something you discuss, learn about, and improve systematically. If you didn't grow up in that environment, you build it yourself. Books, podcasts, communities. A deliberate shift in the language you use around money. Exposure rewires identity, and identity determines trajectory. Habit 10. Transfer is planned before it's needed. Generational wealth doesn't evaporate randomly. It evaporates by design, specifically the absence of design. Studies tracking multi-generational wealth consistently show that most family fortunes are gone within 3 generations. First generation builds, second generation maintains, third generation consumes. The pattern repeats because the wealth was never properly structured for transition. Upper-class families that break this pattern do it through deliberate estate architecture, trusts that govern distribution, family governance structures, financial education that starts at the dinner table, not at the reading of a will. The goal isn't leaving money behind. It's leaving behind a system that knows what to do with it. Here's the truth this entire list points to. Not one of these habits requires a trust fund. Not one requires a wealthy family. Every single one is a behavior, and behaviors are learnable. The gap is an income. The gap is decision architecture. Start building yours. Know in the comments what you have gained from this video so that we can improve and keep doing that better. Don't forget to share this video with at least one person who will get some insights, because one video is enough to give people enough ideas to change their lives. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.